Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I'm Annette Richmond. This is Content Marketing School, and I am so excited to be here with my friend Stella today. I was thinking about this. We met each other. Actually, I learned about you in Content DNA because I read about you in the book, and then I got to meet you on Clubhouse, and then we became friends, and we were doing moderating rooms together every week for at least a year. And,
Yep.
I got to know you and I miss you now. That's one of the things that I miss about Clubhouse is the people that I used to hang with all the time. And so, I do miss that. But and I want to just say one thing. I feel like I'm so international. I've had a couple people from, London, someone from Scotland. Like my last week's guest, one of them was from Australia. Michelle, Michelle, of course, and now you
No,
from the Middle
Michelle.
East. So for anyone who does not know you, please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I feel like I'm in a job interview. So, as you all know, I'm Stella De Silva, and I'm a training consultant, living and working in beautiful Oman in the Middle East. I mainly work with job seekers, clients who are looking for CV revamps, preparing themselves for interviews. And at the moment, I'm currently working with a brilliant startup called NTZ Solutions here in Oman, which is all about sustainability, net zero, biochar products. So exciting times ahead.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that before we went live. And as I said, you are such this warm giving person that I can so see you doing that. And you know, I one of the things that um I always think about with you, and besides your engaging content, because you have very engaging content on LinkedIn, and I think everybody knows you, they know you for that. But when I think of you, the two thoughts that come to mind for me are number one, that you are always saying it doesn't take a ton of people to see your content. It only takes that one person, the right person. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. And the second
Yeah.
thing is kind of like um, very much the you do you. Now, I know there's people like me that are like video, video, video. And you're like, nah, it's not for me. It's not for me. And so if you can talk first a little bit about that whole idea of the one client and and that would be great to just start us off.
I can only talk about that literally through personal
Of
experience.
course,
And again, the way it's
please.
kind of worked, the way it's kind of worked for me. So, in the sense of, I'm a strong believer that when you are on LinkedIn, you're coming into a platform that, if you're new to the platform, can be quite intimidating, right? So you're seeing different people, putting different types of content. You're seeing different types of engagement. You're seeing some viral, pieces of content, and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I do?" Right? So that's how it usually starts. And again, from personal experience, I've always found that when I've put content out, it's always the content that doesn't necessarily have the largest of views or the tons of engagement is the one that is probably going to maybe pay towards me buying my next house, or pay towards me, opening and setting up a business, which I have done here in Oman. And it's literally because that particular piece of content at the time resonates with the right client. So the right client has seen that content, has gone to obviously check my profile out, has gone to see all the evidence, because obviously you have to reference how great you are through your recommendations, your skills, your content, and obviously making sure that your LinkedIn is optimized. And before you know it, so easily you've bagged a client. Of course, they'll probably want to have a Zoom chat with you. You probably have to give additional evidence, but for the most part, they come through by that one piece of content that you've put out. And that's how I got my job here in Oman. It was through one piece of content, and I remember it so vividly. And it had, I think, less than 15 likes. And one of them was mine, by the way. It used to be the days when we used to always like our own. We always used to like our own
Oh, for
content.
sure.
Exactly. Right. Just to think, oh, yeah, more people are looking at it. And literally, that one person saw that piece of content. He sent me a DM. Before you know it, I'm delivering training in Oman. So when I'm now working with clients here, who want to optimize their LinkedIn or want to start their LinkedIn journey, I always say it's nothing like Instagram or maybe Facebook, where you kind of rely on that sort of real time engagement and millions and trillions of views or whatever to be sort of like successful.
Mhm.
LinkedIn, I feel, can be the opposite. It's the quality of the content that reaches the right person at the right time. So, again, for me, it's all about having a strategy, because again, am I putting a content out at a particular time if I'm looking for clients in the United States, for example, because obviously our time zones are different. So I'm
Mhm.
going to focus my content at American time zone. If I'm looking for clients in Europe, I'm looking at that time zone. So again, just simple things like that. And you know me, Annette, I'm all about keeping it stellarishly simple. So it's simple but very effective strategy. That's what you need on LinkedIn, I find. And that's what is really important, even with the type of content you're putting out. Again, not emphasizing or worrying too much about how many people are engaging on the content, or how many people are liking it, or number of impressions, because honestly, you do that and you just worry yourself to,
Mhm.
you just
Mhm.
worry, and there's no point. You've got no control over it.
Yeah, I am much better at that. I realize that it's not the people, the likes and all that. And when I've been evaluating my content more recently, since I've shifted my business and shifted my LinkedIn strategy, is I look at the my engagement numbers. And that's what I look at to see if I am getting the engagement. So one of the things that I think that, based on what I see and of talking to you, consistency is important, but I know that for me, like I remember during the pandemic was when I'm embarrassed to say I really first started getting active on LinkedIn. I met people in Clubhouse I liked and they were on LinkedIn. I was like, okay, I better go there too. So, and there was a lot of people that got involved with the, 365, 24/7. I'm going to post every day, every day, every day. I tried that for like 2 weeks and I was like, yeah, I'm posting and posting. So I stopped. Now, one of the things though that people I think are told often by coaches, I'm all about doing what's manageable for you. But what is your advice for someone? First, for someone who's kind of just starting and saying, "Oh, this sounds interesting. Maybe I'll start engaging." And then for someone who's already there but wants to maybe up their game.
Again, I always say, and Annette, you know me for this, one size doesn't fit all on LinkedIn. It really doesn't, meaning that what works for me might not work for you. So if it's a case that I'm on LinkedIn posting every single day, that might be my strategy that works for me, but might not work for you, right? So
Mhm,
again, it's all about trial and error, if you like. So I'm not opposed to people trying. If you feel you've got the time to post every single day. But what does that mean? Are you just posting every single day, or are you also engaging on that post every single day? And are you then also engaging with people who've bothered to engage with you? Have you sort of like reciprocated and go to engage on their post? So
mhm,
when you're thinking about it in that broader sense, you can now see that maybe posting every day might be a bit too much for some people, because
mhm,
I always question as well. If you're posting every day or twice a day and you're doing all this engagement and you're on LinkedIn, I do question, well, what is your real side hustle? What's your real job? because I know that where I've got a real job besides having a job on LinkedIn, so to speak, because being on LinkedIn can be like another job, but you then have to dedicate the right time to LinkedIn. And I know so many people who can come on LinkedIn, spend 3, 4 hours and waste their time on LinkedIn, meaning that they're just going through their feed, they're just going through content, but they're not adding value, they're just putting a like in. So again, it's really, really important that you decide what works for you. But
Mhm.
the key word that you've said, that you've mentioned, is you are consistent. So if you decide that you are going to post every single day, well, you better be consistent, because it's all got to do with the LinkedIn algorithm as well. The more you train the algorithm, the more it works for you. So if you're consistently posting 2, 3 times a week, then that's the number you should be consistently posting. But a lot
Mhm.
of people think it's a lot of people always tend to think, oh, it's about coming on LinkedIn, putting a post, engage with the people who've posted or who are, engaging back on your content, and that's it. Well, what about them? They've put out content. It would be nice that you go and engage on their post.
Mhm.
So, and that's how you build your network, because then people see that you're not just taking all the time. You're also giving back. And the more you give back, it's what you should be doing on LinkedIn, actually. You should give him more than you are actually taking back on this platform, to build to build your network, who in turn will then work for you when you need them to. And they do brilliantly in my case. Does that make sense?
No, it makes absolute sense. I mean, for me, and I feel like, being on LinkedIn is a place where I am in there to engage, to attract potential clients, and then also hang out with my friends because I love to see what everybody's doing. I strive for 5 times a week. That's my goal. If I do an extra post, great. If I do one less, well, life happens. But one of the things that I also want to talk to you about, because one of the things that I think too, and I think AI, for some people, I know some people, and you can tell by looking at the posts that they have AI created and they just throw it up there as is. It's not like I use it for brainstorming. I use it to get ideas and drafts and whatnot, but I'm not taking that content and putting it on, as mine. And one of the things that I love about you, and I just want to say hello to our friend Jeff, who joined us, and he says, "Oh,
Hi,
greetings,
Jeff.
greetings. Hey, Jeff, we love you.
Love Jeff.
Sorry to be late. Well, we're just happy you're here. So thank you so much. But the whole idea of I
AI.
lost is of AI, that it's making it sort of like problem is what I think of it as. But one of the things that I also think about you is you have your voice. Now, I think it's so important, and I try to be that way myself, is that if I read your content and I wasn't with your name, I would recognize it. I would say, "Oh, that's Stella," and you've developed this, unique Stellalicious, as you say, right? Stellalicious is your hashtag.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how people, can do that, like how you did it, and how other people can maybe get inspiration from you to do that themselves.
Again, for me personally, I remember when I first came on LinkedIn, and that was roughly, or should I say, came back to LinkedIn, and that was roughly about 2017, 2018. And for me, the landscape had completely changed from when I first registered way back in 2009, right? But
Hmm.
what I was determined very, very early on, even back then, was I was just going to be me. I wasn't going to be anything other than me. And if people liked it, great. And if people didn't like it, that was okay. But I wasn't going to be my style as a trainer, because that's what I am, is very informal. People know me for my clappers. I've got one here right now. The way I deliver is very, very informal. So I wasn't going to put up a profile picture in a suit, because I don't wear a suit when I'm delivering training, right? Nor was I going to speak in that formal tone in my content,
Mhm.
so that I always thought that when people met me offline, there'll be no shock, there'll be no surprises, because they'll say, oh my God, you are exactly as you are online. There's no difference. And that's what I was so determined to do. So, as you say, I speak in very simplistic terms. I don't use language that I myself don't understand or don't use on a daily basis. And I am just me. I can't,
Mhm.
I can't, there's no magic to it. There's no formula to it other than just be you. Some people are formal in their personality.
Mhm.
That is fine. Then be formal in the way you write. Some people are like me, very informal, quite loud, quite, in your face sometimes. That's my style. And that's how I try and put my content. So, like you said, I love the fact that you said, Annette, that even if you didn't see my name and you saw a piece of content, you would know straight away that was me, because that's what I am. I just want to be me. So that's the way that's the way I would give that sort of advice to anybody putting out content. Do it in the way that, is your style. And this is where AI becomes very, very, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, because like you said, there is no way I could put out AI generated content. People will catch me out straight away,
Mhm. Mhm.
and yes, it's easy, because that all you have to do is command AI, but is that really being authentically you? I question that sometimes. So I'm very anti AI, in the sense that if it's putting out content, I think, yeah, I know some people would argue time, they haven't got time, so they can automate it, blah blah blah. Well, that's on you. I know that I just like to just say as I see it, basically. That's how my content usually is as well. And then again, you know, putting out different types of content for me is always key. Sundays now is a fun day Sunday. And, I get so much engagement on Fun Day Sunday than I do any other day that I put content out. So again, it's just finding your style, what works for you. So that's what I do on LinkedIn.
Well, I love your Sunday fun day. I look forward to that. It's always some kind of an image riddle or something. And it's a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that I have been, I think, someone who likes to have a little fun on LinkedIn, but I've just my new strategy is to lean into that even more. And I'm like you in the sense that I'm pretty casual also, and I try to write as I speak. And so, you're not getting anything. If I say, well, I was gonna do this, I would probably write it that way on LinkedIn as well. And so, as Jeff agrees, KISS, keep it deliciously simple. And it's
Exactly.
so true. It's so true. That, and it's also, it's harder to be somebody else, right?
I think, at the end of the day, people want to see humans. As much as we are on a platform and we're writing through our keyboards, this, that, and the other. I think your content can humanize you, if you do it the right way. And like I always tell people on LinkedIn, people always go on, and we see this sometimes in there on content where people say, oh, this belongs on Facebook, or this belongs on Instagram. And you think, well, why are you saying that? I would put the same content I put on LinkedIn, I'll put it on any platform. Do you see what I mean? But what I always argue with all platforms across, not just LinkedIn, but Instagram, Facebook, whatever other platform there is, I always say, look, there is a difference between writing personal stuff and writing private stuff, right?
Hmm.
is what people need to understand. So I'm very aware that when I'm writing personal stuff on LinkedIn, I know that a vast majority of people will be able to resonate with a lot of the personal stuff that I'm writing, because I'm not a professional 24 hours a day. That's just not my life. I have
Mhm.
got a personal life outside of work. And then if we're saying, oh, you need to be the authentic you need to be the true you, well, that comes with the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm afraid. And that's what you're going to get through my content. So again, I'm very aware of people saying so many things, including LinkedIn coaches, who say one thing but are quite contradictory in their content when I see it. So again, I'm back to what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa.
Well, I love that you brought up that word private, because that's what I was going to get into. And I heard someone say it on LinkedIn, not on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse, and I don't remember who it was, that talked about it in terms of having the professional, the personal, and the private. And that's how I think about it as well. And although I am pretty just fairly private person just by nature, I have, small group. Um, but I've been trying to get adding more personal. So that might be me and my husband at a football game, or me with the dogs, or something like that. And then, private is a whole kind of other area. And for me now, again, I'm with you too. I say write whatever you want on LinkedIn. But if I was, I don't know, in the hospital or something, I wouldn't be posting about that and showing a picture of me laying in the hospital bed on LinkedIn. Now, again, I don't say there's anything wrong with that, but for me, that would be private, and I would not be comfortable sharing that deeply. And so you mentioned that as well, the personal and private. And I love the way you weave a lot of personal stories about your family. I love hearing about your dad and your sisters. But it doesn't seem to get over what I would consider to be private. So can you talk a little bit about
Yes,
that?
yeah, because also I need to respect their privacy, right? Because again, when I'm writing about my sisters or my family, it's because I'm alone here in Oman. My family are in the UK. So sometimes I just want to write about my family because I just genuinely miss them, right? But again, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, disclose private stuff about my family, especially if they haven't given me the permission to. That said, we've seen, Annette, on LinkedIn, a lot of people put in private stuff. So, the classic one would be, I've seen posts where people may be dying, for example, and they're talking about bucket list and things like that. Or they may be talking about really private matters like, a medical condition they might be going through. And like you, I won't necessarily put that on Facebook for me because it's private to me. But for people like that, I actually commend a lot of
Mhm,
them because
mhm.
sometimes, they bring in a lot of awareness. There's things that I learn from these kind of things. So again, I always say, do what you're comfortable with. And unless you are specifically breaking the terms of service of LinkedIn, I feel anything goes, and it's not for me. I'm very much hashtag no judgment. If I don't like what I see in content, so that it's content coming up my feed and I'm uncomfortable or it triggers me in any way, there's the block button, there's remove, there is I don't need to see this on my feed.
Mhm,
You've got
mhm.
options rather than then go on the piece of content and then just be aggressive, abusive, be rude, be
Yeah,
mean. I just
yeah.
again, you
I
see what I
know.
mean?
I meanness, I don't like that. And what people often don't realize is when if you post something and I say, "Oh, I think that's so offensive," and I'm on your post talking about how offensive it is, then I'm spreading it out to all of my network and I'm giving your post a boost. So it's just, it's really
And it's
people
not
are
it's not Exactly. And then you're the one coming across, again,
Like
you're
a
not
jerk.
creating a you really, really are basically, you're really coming across as not giving the right impressions. And again, when I'm telling people are watching you, regardless of the fact that they're engaging on your content or not. The lurkers are there. there, there are plenty. And for those people who don't know what lurkers are, these are literally people who come on social media and literally just scroll. They watch what you're doing, they watch your feed, they watch your content, but they're not necessarily engaging with you. And then you have some really, really good lurkers in that once they decide that they really like you and they want your service, boom, they contact you.
Yeah.
And then you've got the trolley type of lurkers who then decide they want to come and troll you, which again, that's part of nature of social media.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't have enough followers to get those trolls yet. So, but one thing, yeah, I think about that too. It was so surprising to me. I had a post and I was talking about my podcast. And I had somebody in the comments say, "Oh, yes, I subscribe to your podcast. I listen to it all the time." I was like, "Oh my goodness," and and of course it was exciting for me, but you never know. You never know what's going on with people. So,
And can I quickly ask you, Annette, when that person wrote that comment, would it have made any difference that it was just that one person that engaged on that post saying that, than if you just had 10,000 people who just put a thumbs up to that post? Can you
no,
now see?
I am always grateful. I have to tell you, I'm grateful when I ask people to invite them to come on my show and they say yes. I am grateful when people comment and engage with my posts. I try to be, an active, good citizen back with everybody as well. So yeah, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. I think it's really important that, when people, for me personally, when people come to engage on my post, for me, I'm just thinking they've taken time out to read my piece of content and to engage on it. So the least I can do, and this is why I don't post every day, because I dedicate maybe one day to go and engage on all those who bothered to come and engage on my post. And I literally can spend a good 3-4 hours, especially if a piece of content has done really, really well, where I will try and go and engage and reciprocate the kindness and support they've shown for me.
Yes, I know you do that. I try to do that too. I have my put together my people list, and so that makes it saves me some time. So, we're getting near to the end. It goes by so fast. And
So
I'm sharing
fast.
I know I'm sharing your profile for anyone who, wants to see you and connect with you. I love that you have the QR code and your banner there. So,
You know who did that? It was Kevin D. Turner that did that for me.
oh, he's such a sweetie. I know.
I
I
love
have him
Kevin.
I have him actually, he's joining me, I think it's next week to talk about YouTube. I'm so excited when I get
Ah,
people to talk about something that's like not their regular thing. And he has just done so amazing with his YouTube channel. So he's coming on to talk about YouTube and I can't wait. So,
I
so
love Kevin.
obviously people should follow you. You have fabulous content. You share such great information. I don't know if you're even have people can even connect with you anymore because we only get so many. So I I don't
No, I
know if
think
you
I think I think people can still connect, but obviously people can just, you know, send me a DM. I'm always on LinkedIn, so if you send me a DM, I will respond. It might not be on the same day, but I will always respond to DMs. And of course, I just love meeting new people from different parts of the world. I love the fact that people really want to engage on my content. So, I love engaging back. I always try and engage. That said, the last post, which was, the Fun Day Sunday one, that already, it kind of like just blew up with over 230,000 impressions, for crying out loud. A lot of people engaged on it. So I have tried to, respond to everybody, but I know that at a point I need to move on to the next post, so
Well,
to speak. But yeah.
so I didn't even try that one. It was too hard for me. So I always like to ask everyone at the end of the show, because we've talked about a lot, I think. Is there anything that you would like to add that I didn't ask you, we haven't talked about, that you think it would be important for people, to know to help them in their journey on LinkedIn?
I think, for the most part, if you are on LinkedIn, don't stress. Treat it as an opportunity to better yourself, really. So, in terms of putting out content, it really is about practice. I went back, Annette, just quickly. I went back to some of my content back 2017 and 2018, and I just thought, OMG, what a disaster compared to putting out my content now. And the only way I feel that, well, I like to think it's got a bit better is because I've just practiced. I've just put out content and I know what I like to talk about. Talk ab- just put out content on topics you want to talk about that you feel people can engage with. We will come, we will come and engage, you will engage back. So I think that really for me is just be you. Be you, do you.
Well, I love that. It's a great note to end on. I just want to say hello because we have a couple of people actually joining us on Instagram. So I just want to say hello because they're not able to comment. I don't think for us to see it in the studio here. But it's been such a treat chatting with you, Stella. I've been so looking forward to this,
I
and
know.
it's been too long. So I will have to say goodbye now because I want to be mindful of your time. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone who's been here. I've seen, although we haven't had people commenting to us, I've seen reactions, and you can see them in the I see them in the studio on the side. So thank you so much again, and I'll see everybody else
Thanks,
next
Annette.
next week.